Hi everybody, it's me, Divine Mix, and I'm here with Emperor Nunya. Today we are catching back up on The Last of Us with episode 4. So tell me what you think about it.
Once again, I wasn't the biggest fan of where the story was heading for the game for a long time ago, but I really do like how the series has portrayed itself. Like, I do think that it's being able to convey everything that's occurred in the game on screen pretty well, like the intensity, the emotions. I got caught up, man. It was really good.
Just FYI, before we go any further, there is going to be some spoilers as we discuss everything. So if you don't want to hear anything, now is the time to stop. But if you're okay with it, thank you for listening. I actually found this episode to be the one that kind of made me like, it doesn't make sense for a few reasons. Like, I understand them wanting to get out of there, wanting to get revenge on Joel and for Joel with Abby and everything, and going to Seattle and stuff like that. But what they do while they're there's certain things that just honestly, the reactions don't make sense to me. So one of those things was essentially towards the end of the episode, and I'm sorry for just jumping straight to the end, but it's the part where Dina admits that she's pregnant. And Ellie's reaction is like jumping for joy and things like that. But in my head, I'm just like, I'm on a 2-person mission of revenge, and everything around us is trying to unalive us, and you're pregnant. In many cases, especially when it comes to the end of the world, it's kind of like a liability.
Absolutely, yeah. That's how I'd be feeling in the same situation, especially when you think about resources and all that.
Yeah.
But perhaps, I don't know. Maybe you have to think about the rationalization of the world itself, and maybe that they're so desensitized to it. But even then, it's still a bit of a stretch.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm personally thinking these kids are like what, 15? 16 now?
Ellie's, I think she's 19.
She's 19 now, but for the most part, they've lived 19 years in a world where, everything's so chaotic. I'm not expecting much people to be having kids during this time period. 1, because of the stress. And then 2, at least constantly moving around. So I don't know how well she understands the idea of pregnancy and what it requires and all these things. But also,
well, I mean, they have been living in an environment where there would be women becoming pregnant.
I guess.
Right. So I think she has a general sense, but they don't like. There was a scene where she's presenting her with a pregnancy test. She didn't even know how it worked. So like there are certain nuances in our modern world, so our current day world, that wouldn't translate over to her.
Well, yeah. Definitely, because her first response is, "I'm going to be a dad."
Right.
And actually, I did look up this Easter egg. So when they get to Seattle, there's same as in game. I did look to see if it was in game. They said that there were pride flags all around, and you could hear their comments both. And this is both in the game as well as in the show, that they have no idea what these rainbows are for. They're like, were they just really optimistic? So it really shows just like how little of the
current world's
before,
issues.
Right. They don't know really as much of that, because everything for them is only this world. I
want to note that I do believe that this game does pander towards a certain demographic. And that's why it's been so divisive in its community. Because a lot of the people who have played the first one have not played the second. I'll mention it again and again.
That you do not like the second.
Well, I just didn't like the not to say that the game itself isn't a masterpiece. I just didn't like the direction the story went. I think what you were talking about, Ellie responding joyfully when Dina said she was pregnant, just like that's just another fact that to me is just pandering towards a certain demographic. Right? Instead of talking about like true storytelling, because we have no problem with Ellie being a homosexual. That's never been an issue. In the first game, that was already established. She had a female love interest. I think that it would just be like, instead of focusing on her character arc, they're pushing like I don't know, politics instead of a story.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get where you're going with that, because when you did mention Ellie's first romantic interest, which was mentioned in the first story,
Riley, which is beautiful.
How they did that story was very beautiful, and it fit in with the overall coming of age story for Joel, for Ellie. It fit in there. With this one, you're feeling like, hey guys, this is like a separate story, and it's not meshing completely.
Right, like it feels like you're forcing that story in.
Right. I get that. I do get that.
Even though I do like this, the story is about the flaws in revenge and vengeance. You know, like it's supposed to discourage you from the idea of seeking vengeance. And maybe like the writer Neil Druckmann, he thought that would be like one of the bartering chips that she would have. You know, like if she was to choose to stay instead of pursuing this, then she can have her own family.
If that's the case, then I think a way that could have been done where it doesn't seem so forceful is in small little moments between Ellie and Dina, and building that up like how they did with her very first love story in the first season, because it could get to a point that at the end she's like, do I take this revenge, or do all these little small moments with this one person matter? I get where you're going with that.
Right, most definitely. And I just don't understand why she would bring her pregnant girlfriend with it. You know?
Yeah. So for me,
I don't think Joel would ever do that.
So well, for me personally, as a female, as I told you, I watched The Walking Dead. When Maggie got pregnant in there, you know, it was such a just crazy thought process, because when I think of the apocalypse and I talk with my female friends, we're just like, the two things we're worried about aside from basic needs is, one, our periods and what we're going to do, and not getting pregnant. Now, for periods, we're just like, you know, hey, it's possible that it's so stressful that we don't get them, which can happen. But then the whole pregnancy factor is like, what do I do? Right. Because it's not simply just 9 months. There's time after that where you can't really move as much, or where everything's much more difficult. Like you literally have a gaping wound. So, yeah. I thought, like, the way that all happened, I was just like, this is way too optimistic for this type of environment. I will say, from looking it up, in the game, Ellie's actually upset. She literally says, like, well, now you're a liability. So, but also in game, they show much more of their first day in Seattle. Okay. Versus us going through, like, all the quick stuff. But yeah, that's...
It's a 25-hour-long game. So for them to pack it into this is really condensed. I think even the way they handled the first season, they did condense it a lot, but I think they handled it very well. Again, I've not played the second game, so I can't speak on it.
I would say the difference with the first season is that a lot of it is traveling. You know, so you could shorten down some of that travel. Whereas I think in the second game, from just looking up how the gameplay is and what the differences are so far, it seems like there's certain things that...
Like a lot of action sequences?
I wouldn't say action sequences, but more like, hey, this is like important information, but it's spread throughout.
You mean like story lore and sort of that? You mean like, okay, background information and character building. Yeah. Got you. Okay.
Prior to them getting to the point where where Ellie tells her that she's immune, and Dina tells her that she's pregnant. Right. We have two things that happen. One, Ellie gets bit in front of Dina. Right. Which doesn't happen in the game. The same scene happens, but it's Ellie in Dina's place. And the way Dina finds out Ellie's immune is actually later on in the game, where she's breathing s'mores in front of her, and that's also in front of somebody in Abby's group. Remember, we haven't forgot about Abby. And then
well, that's the whole reason of the mission, is to get Abby.
Well, I felt like this season we forgot about that.
Oh.
I mean, not this season, this episode. Oh. Like, I personally was expecting us to have, like, some type of, like, cut scene where it's like, hey, we're learning about this. It didn't happen. And then outside of that, we also had that horde in the subway.
Right.
that was scary to me.
Right. Oh yeah, it was. It was a great. I thought it was a great scene. I thought even the intro scene was great. With what's that actor's name again? Well, I know the character's name is Isaac Dixon. He's the one that was a part of the
Well,
he joined. I believe he
Western Liberation Front. And then, when he's attacking the guy, he keeps calling Scar.
Right, no, that's a guy. But in the beginning sequence, when he's joining that group, and he takes a grenade and he throws it into the military vehicle, and he kills everybody else. He brings, unalives her. Sorry,
it's okay.
Yeah, he throws a grenade in, and he makes the young guy make a decision whether he's gonna end up like them or stay with them.
Yeah.
All right. I think it was really well acted, and it says how tense this world is, and just how brutal it can be.
Well, actually, I found that very interesting because we have the Western Liberation Front, which is supposed to be like the military, and the person that we see them attacking, who he's calling Scar, is representative of a religious group.
Right, he's a part of Fedra, which is like pretty much the military government, like the government's military, and he went to go join the Wolves, which is the WLF.
I still consider them military-ish because they move like a military.
Right, they are still military, but they're just not. They don't function.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just for my brain, I'm like military versus religious.
Gotcha.
And like I noticed that usually in these apocalyptic societies that we see, they tend to always have both of those extremes as opposing characters. So in regards to that, what do you think of this new dynamic that we're introduced to?
In terms of the religious?
The finally really seeing, okay, the Western Liberation Front moves like this, and then this religious group is here doing this. It's not just Joel and his city of people, his town of people. There's like factions all going on.
Right. In the first game we had factions.
But it wasn't as focused.
Right, okay, right. So in the first game we had the Fireflies, and then we had what was basically what they refer to as the Hunters, which are like basically raiders that would pick apart cities and towns and rob passerbyers. But then even the Fireflies would also do that to certain groups in justification. And then you had what's it called again? The military zones, which is basically Fedra, which is what this Isaac Dixon is a part of. Now that we're years in the future, now we're hearing about these scars that are out there in Seattle, and they operate differently. Like this is. I don't know if they said that Marianne was they saw as like their religious idol or something like that. Like we're seeing how the disconnected society has pushed us back to our primitive ways. Like the brutality of the scene of Isaac interrogating the Scar.
Yeah.
Like this is not just like regular military tactics. Like even in Guantanamo Bay, we're not sanctioned to do these type of things.
It's extreme.
Yeah, for sure.
It's extreme. I wasn't expecting as graphic as they showed.
Right, and then the aspects of when they were talking about we don't care who broke the truce because they're supposed to be at peace, and then they're saying that it's because you're unaliving our children, and it's because you taught your children to unalive us. That's the reason why it's back and forth, and that was what the first season was also about, was that this world is a world of gray. Like even the fact that Ellie is still alive now when she was supposed to be the cure for everybody. And fix society and everything. It's a world of gray. If I was Joel, I never would have. I wouldn't want to give her up either. And Ellie, in her state, she thinks that she should have. And when Joel was being unalived by Abby, she wants to save him.
Yeah.
In the same way, she's going off to go have revenge, the same vengeance that Joel would have done.
I think that's the overarching conflict.
Right. There's no right and wrong. You do it for your faction. You do it for your people.
Well. No, what I was gonna say is more like the overwhelming issue is, I guess you do it for your people or you do it
right.
For
so
the world.
You're a villain in somebody else's story, just like Joel was a villain in Abby's story. Her father's a life-saving doctor in this apocalyptic world. I'm sure like that's more valuable than gold, right? and this guy comes in and he's about to try to make a cure, and this guy just comes in and claps him. Goes off on his way and
well, I think that portion of it in regards to it is that Abby and Ellie don't actually know each other's side of things. I think that's the biggest thing is you could be fighting for everything that you believe in, but you might not have all the facts at the end of the day.
Right, exactly.
And then if you do have all the facts, where do you go from there?
Right, because you do it for everyone. Someone is a villain in somebody else's story.
So in this situation, we have not Abby. We have Ellie and Dina, and they are on their way to look for Abby. By the way, FYI, in the game, they're not looking for Abby. They're not on a revenge mission. They're actually trying to find Tommy, who is on a revenge mission to get Abby. So that's like a huge difference. I don't know if because of how everything is, I feel like I'm lost in the sauce for where they're going with the story. I'm a little bit like, there's so much going on.
Well, the game faced a lot of criticism, so maybe they're trying to adjust that for this one, because I think when they jumped into playing Abby right after she unalived Joel, it was a kind of a kick in the stomach.
that part I get.
Yeah, so maybe they didn't show her this episode because they still wanted her to be.
That part I get. I get playing Abby after that, but I'm saying episode 4. Okay, we had episode 3, and episode 2, which just like broke all our hearts, right? Then you get an episode and you don't even touch up on Abby. There's nothing on her, nothing on anybody in her team really, but you're introduced to 2 other factions. So for me, it feels like, okay, we're here, but now all the attention is like from the goal is deviated. Because in my head I'd be, as someone watching the show or even playing the game, if I'm playing as Ellie, I'm just like, she just did that to Joel, that is my focus. But now that we're watching the show, I'm just like, I thought my focus was Abby, but you're having me look at these 2 other people, and I don't even see Abby in my rear view, if that makes sense.
I understand.
I feel like the world opened up a bit too fast, whereas they could have put hints of other groups before launching into it. And don't get me wrong,
which is what they kind of did last episode 3 with the stars.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Because that's what the intro was.
Yeah. I guess so.
And then the Wolves intro was from Abby with her group.
I guess. Maybe.
Because then remember they established that that the Fireflies are no more, and then they've had to go to satellite groups, and that's why she's at the.
I got that with the World Liberation Front, but I meant like in terms of how they related, but to Ellie instead of just how they related to each other. But now that you're saying this, I do understand possibly.
It's a lot of world building. It's a lot of world building they're trying to condense into. I don't know how many episodes we get.
Probably 10.
10? Okay, yeah, it's a lot. So 25 hours into that. It's not like it ends in the original game, and I do believe in the second one. There's collectibles that you would get throughout the worlds, which has information which sets up
certain
things that which you're not going to be able to do here. They do try to kind of bring it in a bit with some stuff, but unless you're looking for it, it's easy to miss.
I think because I'm so used to successful series getting at least 3 seasons. And because I'm aware that there's only 2 games.
This season, though, is going to be... We're getting a 3rd season. So I think they're splitting it. It's going to be split? I think they're splitting it.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, what if they split it? Then you could get certain things. But if they split it, it makes me wonder how it's going to pan out. Because I feel like because they sped up so much within these first 4 episodes, does this mean they're slowing it down in certain parts or things like that?
See, I guess we have to look at it from its entirety once everything is out.
Yeah.
To really see how how they did condense it, if it had made any sense.
I'm assuming.
I might have to actually put on my big boy pants and actually go play. Just to compare.
Maybe.
I mean, I was watching my dual play through. Who knows?
Or that. I do think it's possible we won't truly see Ellie and Abby come face to face until either the end of the season or next season overall. But I am quite curious about her point of view on things.
You're right, definitely.
Yeah, that's really where my head is at, because this episode they weren't there at all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna have to dwell into her mental state to see if she feels retribution in any sense and how she's been affected throughout, and pick up on the rest of the people in the group, because I think that's where this is heading, is that she's going to be going to have to go from one person to one person, because they have a list of names, and that's how they picked up, I believe, Noah or something like that. No, I can't remember. Noel. Not sure. That's who they heard was inside in the war zone that they're heading to now. At the end of the episode.
Well, we don't know if they're using fake names or what. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah, this episode just feels like it was introducing us to a whole bunch of other things and other circumstances. We have Dina knowing Ellie's situation, being the only one currently that we knows. We have Ellie knowing Dina's personal situation, which definitely is gonna cause some type of things. We know about Abby. We're now being truly introduced to what her team is like overall, her group, and then we're also introduced to another faction. So I think once we finally have all the introductions out the way, it could really focus on the story. I will say, though, that after watching this episode, I'm just like, when it comes to Apocalypse, too much of one type of thought process is not good.
Right.
Too strict, to by the rules, too aggressive. You get the military, which is just, and then I don't even know if I could say that. But on the religious side, too much faith, too much this can have you completely clouded to what is actually good or what is not. Too much empathy leaves you open to anything.
Attacks, right?
Yeah. So it's just like, truly, if you want to survive in this type of society, you have to be open. You have to be flexible.
Right. I mean, in the last season, David, who was running his camp, and remember, Ellie and Joel passed through one of his camps out there. Well, before they reached there, this was in the winter when Joel was injured. They had resorted to cannibalism out there in the wilderness. They justified it in their own right. They were eating amongst themselves. Right. So that's, for any stretch of the imagination, if that's happening, anything is possible in this world.
Well, I'm actually very much enjoying where this world is going to. There are some things that I feel like could have been put smoother, but maybe the more episodes come out, the more we'll understand why they did certain things. But that's really it for episode 4. There wasn't anything too dramatic.
Aside from the whole pregnancy scene, but
like I said, for me personally, just the way that scene went about, it felt so unrealistic.
Surreal. Yeah.
Because as someone that is a female, I'm just like, the whole time I would be panicking about being pregnant and then going off running from a horde. Like I would have been nearly unalived in the subway train, and then like my brain, I wouldn't want to put myself.
I don't know. I mean, maybe because
like
they've lived it their whole life, that's just a part of their thing. But hey, it's suspense of disbelief, right?
Well, I'm assuming that Dina and Ellie have lived in that town for a while and have seen, as you said, pregnant people. They probably have a system there where they don't let.
And they don't have parents, so it's not like they have the same.
Well, I mean, Ellie technically has a dad. Or had a dad.
Right. I mean, like, she was already like 14 though, so I mean, it's constructed. I'm sure that the man wasn't having talks about which tampon to fly.
Never had a parent. I think it's definitely gonna hit. Right. You know. But yeah.
That's strange. Yeah.
That's it for episode 4. We will see you next week with episode 5. Bye, guys.
Adios.